is actually a collection of different species and hybrids of species.
Worth it for me for the amount of effort I put in, Jordan.
This is actually featured in quite a few of your murder mysteries.
Hello and welcome to another Wild Food UK video. My name's Marlo, and in this video I'll be picking lots of different lovely things from my garden, introducing my daughter Bonnie to a few lovely forage treats, and you're going to get a few cameos from Kerry and even Eric and Phil from the North Midlands, showing us a very dangerous plant. And as well as that, I do a little cook up of some lovely tasty mushrooms at the end of this video, so I do hope you enjoy it. Let's go on with the foraging. I did a video of it. It was a very mature specimen, so I'm using that as my excuse for showing you my own garden chicken of the woods, which has just popped out of this cherry tree. First time I saw it was a couple of days ago. It was half this size, and that would have been the 3rd of May. So it's a nice early fruiting tree that I have here. Chicken of the woods is a mushroom that will grow right the way through summer in different places, and then when you get to sort of August time, most of the specimens that you're seeing are a bit too woody and fibrous, and they become quite acrid and bitter at that stage. So what you really want with your chicken of the woods is some nice reasonably young stuff. This here is a bit too young. It's got, because it's in my garden, I know I can safely leave this for probably 2 or 3 more days. Maybe I'll do another video then just to show you how much it's grown in a couple of days, to fill out. And before it starts getting shelf-like, it should just keep creating these bulbs around everywhere. But then in a few days, what will start to happen is each of these bulbs will start to flatten out and turn into a shelf-like fungus. Now, it's a really, really good edible as far as I'm concerned, but as in my other video, I've got to give you the word of warning. Quite a few people have a mild allergy to this mushroom, which can result in gastric trouble or their lips swelling up, apparently. So don't just feed this to everyone willy-nilly at a dinner party, because there's a good chance someone might have a reaction to it. But do try it yourself in small quantities first, and if you don't react from a small bit, have a bigger bit the next day, and then, you know, if you've not had any reaction whatsoever, you're probably not one of the unlucky ones. But do try a small bit first at least before tucking into a nice chicken of the woods dinner. But if you are one of the lucky ones like me who can eat this mushroom, then you're in for a treat, because it's the best chicken substitute that I know of, which you can get as a vegetarian. And for me, I use it in any chicken dish. It goes in curries, it goes in stir fries, you can use it as satay chicken if you want to. Cook it reasonably the same as chicken when you're frying it. Don't roast it, obviously. That's not gonna, actually, to be honest, that's not something I've ever tried, is roasting a whole chicken of the woods, but I'd imagine that the inside will dry out a little bit. Takes marinades really well, goes really well with all kinds of sauces, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this one growing for the next 3 or 4 days, I'd say, and then I'm going to be harvesting it bit by bit. So take the biggest bit first, have that for dinner, and then let the other smaller bits grow. Lightiporous sulphureus, young chicken of the woods. There's only one poisonous bracket really to be wary of in the UK. It's called the cinnamon bracket, and if you watch our video on January greens and mushrooms, then it's the last thing we talk about in that video. It would be very difficult though to mistake the cinnamon bracket for chicken of the woods. This is the only mushroom that grows at this height out of a tree that is bright yellow, starts off bulbous and turns into big yellow shells. If you want to see those yellow shells, look at my other chicken of the woods video that I did a couple of years ago, because those specimens were were very mature, just at the edge really of their best for cooking. But this is what it starts off like, and yeah, makes me a happy gardener today, mixed with a happy forager. Anyway. Okay, Bonnie, what's this?
Mushroom.
What type of mushroom is it?
A bird-footed mushroom.
A what mushroom?
A bird-footed mushroom.
Do you know what it's called?
Yeah.
What is it?
Chicken of the woods.
It is chicken of the woods. Yes, it is.
Right, it's early May and the columbine flowers are out. Beautiful looking flowers. If you have a close look, almost looks like 5 doves kissing. 5 doves all gathered round together. Very beautiful looking flower. But it's in the ranunculus family, which is the buttercup family. So the rest of the plant is actually poisonous. And you'll see these leaves most of the year round really, until it flowers in about May time. But whereas the rest of the plant is, as I say, it's in the buttercup family, is a bit poisonous. The flowers themselves are very sweet and just look beautiful in salads. So definitely pick a few of them for a salad.
Nestled amongst that common hogweed, this is young giant hogweed. Much spikier leaves. And over here we've got some more spikier leaves. Quite a shiny leaf. There's no hairs on the leaves. Very, very few hairs on the leaves. Barely a hair. But big giveaway there. You can see those purple spots on that stem. That's a real giveaway. It will get to 5 metres tall if it gets to the point of flowering. This one, yeah, we can see it's only 20 centimetres tall, 30 centimetres tall. It can take a big number of years, can take 5 to 7 years before it gets really big. Just keep on coming back. But here we can see it nestled amongst all the common hogweed quite happily, but right by the water. There's your common hogweed, there's your giant hogweed, and there's the water not very far away. So keep an eye out for your giant hogweed. You don't want to be touching it at all. That phytophototoxic sap can leave you with very nasty burns that can then carry on that way for anything up to 7 years when you get exposed to sunlight. So it's one to keep an eye open for, but easy enough to tell apart. Just be a bit wary with all of your common hogweed. Make sure the leaves are hairy and they haven't got purple spots on the stems. Here we can see a lovely, look at that, super hairy leaf. Really furry. And the stems, get a stem in there. No spots on that stem. So yeah, common hogweed, giant hogweed. Alright, have a good time all. This is Phil signing off from Wild Food UK.
Right, so we're in another part of my garden now, and I'm here with Kerry in her fantastic mushroom jumper, which I do dearly love. I'm going to have to get one for myself at some point. And Kerry, you might know from our courses, and she was in the January Greens and Mushrooms video that we did. What you might not know about her though is that she runs a global poisoning emergency group on Facebook, which deals with sort of upwards of 50 cases a day of poisonings. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or potential poisonings. Most of them turn out to not be toxic?
Yeah, I'd say those are potential exposures that people are worried about, and they end up posting on our group, and I'd say 99% are completely harmless, and it's just a case of, okay, go and get a big ice cream for the kid because they're clearly hungry, and maybe a glass of wine for mum and dad because you've had a scare. But in the small percentage of cases which turn out to actually be a toxic exposure, it's really good for people to be able to go to the medical providers with the exact name and information for what has happened there, and that sort of accelerates any.
That's what the group
there,
does, basically.
Yeah,
IDs
it's mostly reassuring terrified parents and puppy owners. So.
And there hasn't, if I'm right, since you've started this group, there hasn't been a fatal mushroom poisoning.
There's not been a fatal mushroom poisoning.
No, there you go. Mushrooms aren't as scary as you thought, but plants. There's been one or two potentially, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been more. Plants are way scarier than mushrooms, basically.
There you go. This is what I say to everyone. Thank
rather
you,
than getting
Kerry.
too morbid in this.
Anyway, because of what Kerry does and her extensive knowledge of poisons, don't mess with Kerry, I thought I'd give her the poisonous things in my garden to tell you about today. And here's a lovely, lovely tree. We love it when it comes into flower like this. Some of you might recognise it, but you might not know how dangerous it is if you eat it. So Kerry, tell us all about this plant, this tree.
This lovely tree I'm standing underneath is called laburnum, or golden rain tree, or golden chain tree. It's actually part of the pea family, the wider peas and beans. Now, as you can see, it's got high ornamental value, absolutely beautiful flowers and graceful habit. And in the past, it was actually used as a northern replacement for ebony, because it's got a very dark, hard heartwood with a buttery yellow sapwood. And yes, it's toxic. And this is actually featured in quite a few of your murder mystery, whodunit kind of scenarios in literature and folklore. So Sherlock Holmes had one in one of his cases. There's been Daphne du Maurier's written about it, and Miss Marple. Now, the Miss Marple episode about the laburnum came out in the 70s and somehow coincided with a bit of a public panic and frenzy of laburnum phobia, actually, which resulted in 3,000 alleged poisonings. However, a year, that is. So from these 3,000 alleged poisonings a year, there was actually only a handful of deaths, a very, very small number, and that were actually attributed to the laburnum tree. Now, the symptoms include, giddiness, unable to feel your hands. One lady reported she was unable to play the piano, which I think is a fantastic diagnostic tool. Go and play the Moonlight Sonata. Oh no, you can't, you must be poisoned then. And quickly followed by stomach pains, vomiting, coma and death in the very worst cases. But as you can see by looking at the statistics, the cases of actual poisonings and the likelihood of doing yourself some mischief from eating are actually rather low. Now, the majority of the poisonings happened to be children, and the cases that were the real cases, if you come here and have a closer look, this is the fruit of the tree. As you know, flowers turn into seeds, and there's one here which you can see that looks, when it's fresh and green, a lot like a pea pod, and that's actually been the case in all of the poisoning cases that have been verified. Is the person that were eating the laburnum thought that they were peas. One memorable case, which I think is maybe a message to not try and sanitize everything. A man found out that he had a laburnum tree in his garden. He had a 3-year-old daughter, and he cut the tree down because he wanted to protect his child from any potential poisonings from this tree. He got called away into the house, maybe a phone call or something, and he came out to actually find her eating the unripe pea pods that were now in reach, because obviously the tree was cut down and lying on the ground. So maybe the takeaway there is teach your children what not to eat and everything, but also don't try and sanitize things, because you could potentially cause more harm by trying to do that. Now, with the tree, actually, as with many other toxic plants that I'm sure we've mentioned, yew and foxglove and things like that, medicinal extracts, so don't try this at home, leave it to the scientists. Medicinal extracts have been shown in many scientific studies to be really good, more effective actually than current nicotine replacement medication. They're currently not on the market, but and definitely don't do this at home. But just because something's poisonous doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And indeed, as we've already covered, a lot of the poisoning fear about this is a little bit overblown. So, as Paracelsus said, you might be aware of him, he was a 16th century physician. In everything a poison, and a poison in everything, it is the dose that makes it so. Now, Paracelsus's real name was Philippus Aurelius Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim. Don't worry, there's no quiz at the end of this, you don't have to remember that. But he was completely correct, and everything is a poison, and it's the dose. And in general, everyday life, you're not going to be exposing yourself to a dose of laburnum that is going to cause you any mischief. Not one for your salad bowl, but you don't need to slash and burn and salt the earth in order to protect yourself. Just admire it for its beauty.
There you go. Very good. And that's last year's fruit, I assume, still hanging on the tree there.
Well, it's, maybe it doesn't look quite so appetizing in this state,
No.
but you watch out for the kids over the summer when this is ripe.
Well, it's a strange one really, because it doesn't look like anything on our kind of edible list that people might have been going foraging for. So really, I can only assume, like you say, it's children eating these peas when they look a bit like a pea pod.
There was actually one case of a mistaken identity. The cook had, and this was at the piano case, the cook had mistaken them for Robinia pseudacacia, which is the false or the black acacia, which is also a very toxic relative, but the flowers of that particular tree are edible and eaten in some cultures. Okay. So that was, but they're white, so I'm not quite sure what he was doing.
He made a mistake, obviously. Anyway, it's a beautiful tree. I love having it in the garden. And you've already seen Bonnie in this video. She's come and had a look at this tree with me. And we've been teaching her what to eat and what not to eat. This is definitely something not to eat, but a beautiful ornamental nonetheless. So thank you, Kerry.
You're welcome.
Come on then. Bring your straw. Oh, you don't want your strawberry anymore? Okay, go on. We like to eat the spikies, we like to eat the stinging nettles, don't we, Bonnie? You want to eat a stinging nettle? Come on, let's go through the spikies. Remember to stomp, stomp, stomp. Oh, did it get you? Do dodge. Dodge and stomp. And did you want a stingy stinger? Yeah. Okay.
Daddy stingy.
Only Daddy picks the stingies, but you can eat it. There it is. Yummy yum. Right now, what else? Whoa, hey, what else are we looking for around here? Come on, let's go this way. I like the stingers too. Yeah. This way. And what are we gonna find?
Big.
It's got big, hasn't it? Yeah, big chicken of the woods now.
Yeah, eat it.
Well, well, I will cook it and I will eat it. I'm really sorry though, Bonnie Bon. I'm not gonna feed this to you because it might make you a little bit sick. We'll have to wait until you're a little bit bigger. But here's our chicken of the woods. This is, it's actually day 5 because we've got a bit of a get-together going on here with a few of the Wild Food UK team who are gonna add some more to this video for me before I cook the chicken of the woods up. So it's day 5 from when I did the first video of it, and you can see it's grown. Hold on a second, Bonnie, I'll get you. It's grown, and you can see it's slightly...
What's in it?
What's in it?
Let me try that.
Okay, you can hold that for a second. And what's happened here it's started to go slightly pink. Now, that made me ask our resident mycologist Attila and our mushroom expert Fabio how many different types of Lytiporus sulphureus, or what's it called, Bonnie?
A bird bottom.
Oh no, you've forgotten again, have you?
A bird.
A bird, yep. A chicken.
A wood.
Chicken of the woods, yeah. So there are at least 2, maybe 3 different types of chicken of the woods in the UK. But there are none that are known to go slightly more pinky red like this one. Attila's reason is simply that it's growing out of a cherry tree. So if it's growing out of members of the cherry or prunus family, it can get a little bit darker like this one here. Now, Daddy's going to put you down so he can get his knife out and harvest it, okay? You be careful of the spikies. Okay. And we'll get some chicken of the woods for Daddy's dinner. Now, there's 2 people I'm not going to feed this to in the house. I've got my mum, who we look after. She's elderly. And obviously I've got Bonnie. And this is a mushroom that, as I said in the beginning of the video, it can make some people sick. So I'm not taking the risk with my mum. And at the moment, although Bonnie might understand the question, I don't think she's fully qualified to give a thoughtful answer, if you like, as to whether she wants to take the risk or not. So I'm going to wait until Bonnie can answer that question for herself and feed her some then. You want some?
I want to cut it.
You want to cut it? Well, the other thing I'm not going to give you, unfortunately, yet, Bonnie, is the knife. So Daddy's going to harvest the rest of this, and I'm going to probably, I think at the end of this video, cook some of it up for you guys so that you can see what we do with it. Anyway, chicken of the woods. This is in prime condition. You can see how moist it is and how soft and flexible those fronds are. And yeah, I'm going to harvest this larger section down the bottom and let this bit grow a little bit. No need to pick it all today. And yeah, I'm looking forward to eating it. Right.
Hello again. So here we've got another ornamental plant. This is in Marlo's garden again. Now, he really doesn't like the taste of this plant, but I do, so that's why I'm talking to you about it. You notice here we've got these long holly-like leaves and bunches of what look like grapes. Now, this is actually a collection of different species and hybrids of species in the Mahonia genus. It was in the Berberis family, but it's since been split off. Now, it's at the beginning of May, and we've got here some ripening fruit, which are a wonderful purple colour on the inside. It does have a bit of a seed. You want to remove that, which is quite bitter. Now, for adults, you can make a nice seedless jam or jelly out of that one. I wouldn't feed it to children because, like the rest of its family, it contains a chemical called berberine, and that actually interferes with the brain development of children. So if you're pregnant or you've got young children, don't feed it to yourself or those people. But for adults, it's absolutely fine, and I really like the flavour of this one. Marlo hates it. He thinks it's quite bitter. I think maybe he's just eating the wrong ones, because as an ornamental, it's not been selected for its edibility and for the flavour, but it's been selected for the time of year that it flowers and for other attributes like these lovely graceful leaves or maybe the height. Now, as it's a collection of species and hybrids, it's tough to tell exactly which one this is, but you'll find lots of different name varieties in your garden centre, and it's a popular one in gardens and along any hedges that counts as a planting, industrial estates, outside supermarkets. So it's quite nice to go to the supermarket and get some fruit for free, just by hanging around in the car park. It's quite a sour little number as well. So do keep trying different specimens, and that way you'll come across one which will taste, that will be more to your taste. I quite like to actually, rather than I make a seedless jam, which is a good one, but from that jam then I've blended it up with some butter and made a pink buttercream for a Victoria sponge, which was went down rather well. Now, as well as these lovely fruits, and you'll find them ripening at all times of the year, again because of that sort of collection of different cultivars. But they're usually an early flowering one over Christmas, making them useful for bees, and an early fruiting one, making them good for nesting birds. But another use, I'm not going to break apart Marlowe's ornamental garden, but on the inside of this, you've got a bright yellow wood, and that's got antibacterial properties, but has been used for centuries as a bright yellow dye, and it's so strong it doesn't even need a mordant. And in the world where synthetic dyes are potentially causing some problems, this could be a bit of an answer as a sustainable, renewable dye source.
So we've been out in the garden finding some lovely things, and I'm here with Jordan, one of our new trainees. He's well, not a new trainee. You're pretty much all the way there, aren't you? You've done almost a full year.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and you might see him running some courses with you soon. But he's still a trainee, which means I can still do awful things to him, like I'm going to in this video. Because I'm going to show you a plant that I really like. It's been in one of my compilation videos before. There's our burdock. This one's Arctium lappa, the big-leaved burdock. You also get Arctium minus, I think it is, which is the small-leaved burdock in the UK. And this is it in its first year. We're in May, so this is the spring of this plant's first year of growth. And what it does in its first year is it just grows this big sort of rosette of giant basal leaves that are the power packs of the plant. They soak up loads of sunshine and they put all that energy into the roots of the plant over the first year, and that root grows and gets big. And then in its second year, over here are some good examples. Kerry's desperate to get these tips off of me for some strange use she has for them, but what I really want is the root. This is in its second year, and you can see it's growing a flowering stem, and that can get to 8 or 9 feet tall. It's a really big, impressive plant. And then, as the name suggests, it's a dock that grows burrs, and the burrs on this are quite fantastic as well. In fact, the guy that invented Velcro, I believe, he looked at the burrs of burdock under a magnifying glass and invented Velcro the next day. So yeah, interesting plant. The whole thing's edible, but it's really, for me anyway, we'll see what Kerry does, but for me it's the root you want. So the root is what goes into your famous drinks like dandelion and burdock, and it's the sweet side of that drink, and the root has a nice sweet taste as well. So it's sort of, I describe it as a cross between a parsnip and a water chestnut with a little bit of maybe sweet potato thrown in, and it's firm, so it's great for stews and soups, and it's going to go in my stir fry tonight with that chicken of the woods that you just saw me picking a little while ago. But the problem with this plant is that the root can get to 2 or even 3 feet long quite regularly. So never dig this up from any common land. You need to get permission from whoever owns the land that you're digging this plant up on to dig it up, because you are, as you're about to see, going to make a bit of a mess when you do it. I'm in my garden at the moment, so I'm giving Jordan permission to do what he's about to do. Right, let's head over to this one over here, because this one too is in its second year of growth, but it's a little bit younger. Those ones there that you were just looking at, they're a little bit too mature. When they get to that stage of growth, the root can become quite woody and a little bit more flavourless. But this one here is in its second year, but it hasn't really matured that much because it's in the shade. So what I'm hoping is that we'll get a nice tender root out of this one. And this is where I'm going to hand you over to Jordan. Take it away, Jordan. Do some digging for us. Oh, I might have given him an easy one. I think you'll have to go a lot deeper than that. Ready? Oh. Ah, what's happened? It's broken! Right, back off there, camera people. Let us both get in here. Jordan, well done. That was a sterling effort. And thank you, Kerry, for helping out as well. And unfortunately, we still only got half a root. Now, that's why on Eric's courses, he introduces this plant as a diet food. You saw how much effort went into digging this up. And really, in all honesty, I've never seen it done much easier. But what we've got here is a lovely tasting root with a very, very thick skin. You can see there. You can roast it inside that skin and then eat the inside part, or you can peel the inside part off, and I'm gonna boil it a little bit before using it in a stir fry as a sort of almost like a water chestnut substitute. And it was kind of worth it for me for the amount of effort I put in. But Jordan, you're going to be digging up burdock regularly?
No.
That's nice, simple answer. Well, thank you very much for doing that anyway. And yeah, it's a shame because he's not even going to get to taste the dinner. There you go. Okay, there's just a few more things I need from my garden for the stir fry that I've got planned, and one of them, as you will be unsurprised to hear, is my hogweed. Underneath my apple trees here, I've left it really a bit too wild this year. The cleavers are taking over a bit more than I'd like, but this is where all my hogweed grows, and I'm just going to be harvesting all of these bits and any young shoots and chopping them up to go into the stir fry, as you will see in just a little while. The other thing that I'm going to get from the garden is my wild garlic, which is going to go into the stir fry and pretty much everything else that I cook at this time of year. One little thing about the hogweed though is well, two things actually, really. I've got the opportunity to show you how variable hogweed can be, because here we've got a reasonably normal looking Heracleum sphondylium common hogweed. And there's another nice bit for the stir fry. Here we've got an amazingly purple stemmed version and I'm going to be harvesting that for my stir fry. And then over here, watch where you tread there, Eric, there's a booby trap. Over here we've got some nice fat leaf versions, and as we go up here it'll be hard to focus at speed, but here we've got, in comparison, an extremely or much more pinnate version of the same plant. Now, I know that there are, I think, 4 different versions of Heracleum sphondylium in the UK, or 4 different variants, but that's just a great illustration. You've got super purple stems, very needle-like leaves, lovely lobed leaves, but the thing is, all of them have hairy leaves, which rules out our giant hogweed, so you're safe picking from any leaves like this. The spikier ones here are the ones that would have worried me the most, but they are hairy, not shiny. You can see those hairs glistening there, I think, which makes them safe to pick. And I really don't have very sensitive skin. It's a sunny day today. If I did have sensitive skin, I would be being very careful picking this hogweed, because giant hogweed, as you'll know, as Phil said, is highly phototoxic. This stuff is still quite phototoxic, about the same as parsnip sap, so you should be careful if you know you've got sensitive skin. But for me, I've got a few more of these to pick, plus my wild garlic, and I'll see you in the kitchen. done my foraging and I've got some other ingredients as well, and now I'm ready to make a lovely chicken of the woods stir fry with a little bit of eggy fried rice on the side. So come over here, Jess, and I'll just show you what we've got. So there's our chicken of the woods, just sliced into sort of juliennes, if you like. And I've got my hogweed there, which I've already blanched, which you really want to do, but not too much. And then I've sliced it. I've got some St. George's mushrooms for the eggy fried rice. Here's my boiled bits of burdock root, which are pre-boiled. A little bit of ginger. There's not much in the wild in Britain that you can replace your ginger with. I have got some onion. And then I've got my wild garlic, some chives from my patio, actually. If you watch Back to Basics too, you'll see where these grow. And then I've got some cashew nuts, which I love in my stir fries. I've already slightly roasted them off, or just in a frying pan, browned them off a little bit. You should do that with your cashew nuts. And I've also already boiled my rice, which I'm hoping is nice and light and fluffy. And then I've got some sort of standard Chinese sauces here. I've got some sesame oil, some light soy sauce, some dark soy sauce. And this is a special damson hoisin sauce that Kerry made for me. I'll try and get the ingredients or the recipe for that off of her, and maybe stick it into the description below the video. And I've got some black bean sauce, because I know that goes really well with Kerry's damson hoisin sauce. And unfortunately, I'm not going to use the arga for this, because the arga doesn't quite get hot enough to stir fry properly. I've got a tiny bit too much oil in there to start with, so do a little bit of that. Slightly amateur mistake. I'm going to chuck in my cauliflower first, because cauliflower I like to brown off a little bit for my stir fries. Soften it up, give it a fair whack of heat early on. And I always do that with just a little touch of light soy sauce. Light soy sauce is the milder one, the one I always use for my egg fried rice. Dark soy sauce has a much punchier flavour, so you tend to use that more sparingly in your actual stir fries. But just to slightly flavour up my cauliflower there. Good sizzle going on, that's what a stir fry should do. So the cauliflower's in, just gonna give that about 30 seconds to a minute, so this bit will be fast forwarded. Okay, so that's what I want to see, that's what I want my cauliflower to look like. Almost a little bit burnt on the outside. And to that I'm going to add most of my onion. Some of that's going to go into the egg fried rice. I'm going to add my chicken of the woods at the same time. And I'm going to add my ginger, my burdock root, and my wild garlic. So now at this point I'm going to just use a wee touch of sesame oil. This is Blue Dragon sesame oil. They all taste pretty much the same, but you only want a tiny bit. Blue Dragon wants to send me any free black bean sauce or sesame oil, feel free. Now with the hogweed, this part I'm going to put in a few drops of that dark soy sauce. Like I say, a bit stronger than our light soy sauce. And again, if Amoy wants to send me any free samples, then I might use them in a video for you.
Smells good.
Yeah, the hogweed kind of has a bit of a celery-esque flavour when you use it like this, so it adds that kind of flavour to your dish. Plus, that's the stems really, because the florets and the leaves have a slightly different, almost unique flavour, but the stems certainly of hogweed have a bit of a celery freshness to them. Now, that's all going swimmingly, so time for a quick drink. I think that's Doombar, so again, if Doombar wants to send some free samples, be more than happy. Certainly helps with the cooking. You do want to just make sure that your chicken of the woods is thoroughly cooked. Now, I've sliced this quite thin into almost juliennes, if you like, so because of that, they will cook pretty quickly. But if you're doing big chunks of the chicken of the woods, I'd probably put that in the pan separately just to make sure that you fry it off properly. Smell that mushroomy smell coming from the St George's mushrooms. It's a shame we haven't got smell-o-vision, but Jess, you can probably smell
It
that.
does smell very good. It's making me hungry.
St George's mushrooms are one of the most aromatic of the wild mushrooms that we go for. Right, now let's finish off these two dishes. Just a little bit more oil. Let it heat up a tiny bit. And then in with our rice. Right, so again, I'm going to turn that down. I don't want it quite so hot for putting the sauce in. I'm going to put in a bit of this lovely damson hoisin sauce made by our own fair Kerry Woodfield. And I just, because I like it, I'm effectively doing a chicken and cashew nuts dish here. Now, chicken and cashew nuts for me really goes best with black bean sauce, but I had to show off Kerry's stuff. And it does, these two flavours, the damson hoisin and the black bean sauce work really well together. I've used them before together. There we are. One chicken of the woods, burdock root, hogweed, wild garlic, and a couple of shop bought ingredients stir fry, made with a homemade damson hoisin sauce, and a little bit of help from Blue Dragon. And the last thing, we're just going to finish off our egg fried rice. Right, okay, here we go. We've got Jess and Poppy on camera again. This is a rare thing. And here's me getting put to the test again. Let's see what you think. So there's only a really small bit of chicken of the woods in your stir fry, so I picked that out first because I want to know what you think of that.
Very strange texture.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not like chicken?
No.
Oh, maybe that's the way I've cooked it. Mine's quite chickeny.
I don't know what it's like.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's good. I don't like chicken, so I'm quite glad that.
Can you feel the tension I'm feeling right now? What about the burdock? Can you find any of that in there?
Oh, I found some.
I don't think I've put any burdock on my own plate. Oh, there's some. Well, that's ended up pretty much how I wanted it, the burdock. What do you think of that?
It's nice. It's like water chestnuts, but not as crunchy, but it's the same chewiness.
That sort of makes sense. Anyway, for a meal that was almost entirely foraged, what do you think?
It wins the seal of approval from me.
Something you might make for your own dinner guest.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
If-
quite
If I
nice.
can find the stuff.
If the chicken of the woods doesn't make you guys ill.
Yeah, let's hope not. On a Friday as well.
It's gonna be a great weekend.
Well, there you go. I do hope you enjoyed that video more than Poppy enjoyed the chicken of the woods. It was a little bit young and a little bit almost too tender, if that can be a thing, which meant that it was more mushroomy than chickeny in texture, but I really enjoyed the stir fry, and I'm pretty sure Jess did too. Anyway, the rest of the video was all different things that I hope you can go out now and find for yourselves. Some of you more eagle-eyed people will have seen that Bonnie touched the chicken of the woods and then put her finger in her mouth. Please don't worry about that. That's not dangerous at all. And yeah, I'll try and do another video for you as soon as I can, but that's the kind of things that you can get from your own garden in May. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon. What I'm going to do is try and get some of these big second year roots out for you to show you what you're after. Now, I'm doing this in my garden. Got some other roots just getting in the way a little bit here. Ah. And a bit of a tool malfunction. Let's see how. Not much more to say about this. I think I'm probably going to do this video again.